the cost that the Iranian people, the price that they had paid, means that there's no going back.
Right,
Meaning,
I would
like,
think that it increases their like, it's enraging for
resolve.
them, which it increases their willingness and ability to go out and keep fighting. Okay, and then I have one more question. Um,
But let me tell you what I'm seeing from the streets. People are what after what they saw, they don't care anymore. Like, after I'm getting reports after reports after reports, people don't care about their lives anymore. They just want to make sure that they win. Everybody is going out accepting that they might die,
yeah,
right? So this is because everybody now knows somebody in their family that has died. Everybody knows that. Okay, the
yeah,
amount of blood that has been spilled, you cannot just go back and then you know start selling bread and then go back to doing partying, go to a restaurant, just play music, go to the doctor. There is no going back to normal. This is a war, and I think the Islamic Republic has started something. I think actually they have increased their chances of falling. The amount of blood that they spilled, there is no way that the Iranian people would ever be able to tolerate this regime, even for another second. So I think a lot of people think that this amount of brutality means that maybe they could survive. I think that they actually made it, they guaranteed their fall.
yeah,
But yeah,
okay.
go.
I would agree with that. I think it's enraging for those people, and that creates kind of a resilience that won't falter. But okay, my last question is, what is going to happen to the protesters that were imprisoned once the regime falls? By the time the regime falls, do we think that there will still be those prisoners left? Will they be executed?
Which
Mm,
prisoners? The prisoners from the protests, from the revolution?
yeah, the people that
Would
have been arrested.
would they be freed? Of course. Why would there be anything else? After
Okay,
the
well,
revolution is
that's
success, let me know if I understand your question. You're saying the political prisoners, what would happen after the revolution is successful to them?
right,
Is that your question?
because technically they broke the law,
Who
so
gives a
they're
shit? It's the Islamic
They
Republic's law.
broke the dictatorial law that they fought to cancel.
They would be
question.
celebrated as heroes. They would be okay, yeah.
What
So
I'm
let
asking.
me actually tell you. Let me tell you what happened. Okay, they will be celebrated as heroes, and there will be never any political prisoners again. The concept of a political prisoners would be wiped from our history, like would be wiped from our political system. We would never have in our justice system anything such as a political prisoner ever again, right? So these people will be celebrated as heroes forever. That's what will happen.
Okay,
I mean, that's a
that's
Also,
promise. That's a promise by Princess of Pahlavi as well, that all political prisoners will be freed, and we will never have a single political prisoner ever again. And we also will not have the death penalty, I think. But that's what the princess. I mean, that Princess of Pahlavi wants us not to have the death penalty either, so we won't have death penalties.
inshallah.
I mean, I don't know if he is going to be able to do that, because a lot of Iranians want blood. But Prince Reza Pahlavi, his vote is not to. I think his opinion is towards no no death penalty.
okay. I have one more question that kind of just
Is it a
developed
quick
as I
one?
was thinking about it. Yes, it is. It is my last one. When that happens, when the regime falls, what is the general consensus of what's going to happen to, if I say his name wrong, I'm sure no one cares, but Khamenei, what's going to happen to him and his group?
Okay, so if they're still alive, okay, so because we don't know what's gonna during the revolution, they might die, right? They might die in 5 minutes if
We would hope
the
so, right?
if, yeah, yeah. Well, actually, I hope he stays alive, because I want to see him in court. Like we, a lot of us want to see him in court and answer to his crimes, right? So there's three options. He could die during the war that is seems to be starting. We don't know. United States seems to be wanting to attack, so he might die during the bombardment. So that's one. If he doesn't die, actually, there's four options. Maybe the Iranian people would get their hands on him and tear him into pieces before we actually get a chance to arrest him. So that's option number two. Option number three is that we do get to the transitional government and he gets arrested, and then we have a Nuremberg-style trial and he gets life in prison. Option number four is that Nuremberg trial and then he will get executed. So it's one of these four options.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Have you heard from your father? I
I've
didn't know.
heard from my brother. I've heard from
Oh,
my
I'm sorry.
brother. No, no, it's okay. My brother told me that somebody managed to send a voice message to my brother from my father, and he's okay. And thank you for asking.
That's amazing. Okay, that's all.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Ivana. Daniel Dom?
Yeah, good evening. I have a question. Is there any strategy to prevent further attempts of Islamist groups to take over Iran? Or even was this question discussed?
So once the Islamic Republic falls, there's close to zero chance for an Islamic takeover of Iran. What you need to be worried about is Islamic terrorist groups doing terrorist activities in Iran, right? Islam as Islam basically is almost, I mean, Iranian people, if they didn't hate Islam before, many of them hate Islam now because of the bloodshed that we just experienced. I think the Islamic Republic, if there was any chance for Islam to have a comeback in Iran, I think the Islamic Republic just ended that in the past couple of days. It's going to be Daniel. Can you close your mic? I can hear a lot of background.
Sorry.
So, guys, yeah, it's okay. So the Iranian people, I mean, let me tell you how bad it is for Islam in Iran, even before all of this happened. When we went to like Clubhouse or Discord or other online groups where Iranians are speaking, when a religious person opened their mic to give their opinion, if they had Islamic views, they would apologize to the group and they were wondering and would ask for forgiveness if they're offending people. Do you understand how crazy that is? Like when I was in Iran, we who were anti-Islamic, we would be scared to even mention anything against Islam. We would be scared, like we would have to find the trusted people to share that with. But now on Iranian social media and group discussions like this, I have experienced so many times when a Muslim is opening their mic to speak, they would apologize for not offending people because they have Islamic views. That's how crazy, like how anti-Islam. I mean, that shows how Muslims also understand that the people around them hate their views, right? Even regime officials will come and Sima. I know they will cry about how hard it is in Iran to have Islamic views. Like they will act like, oh, we're so oppressed. If you have Islamic views, everybody hates you. Like the regime even admitted that on state TV. So think about that. Like in such a society, once we get rid of the Islamic Republic, what are the
Yeah,
chances of an
look,
Islamic
I
takeover?
agree.
Right?
I agree
Yeah.
that right now people really have that, like the current population of Iran, let's say so, have the vaccine of the
Immune.
Islam,
They
but
are
They're
immune.
immune. Yeah,
Immunity.
yeah, yeah,
immune.
yeah, they have
Mm.
they have sort of immunity for this. But like I ask if there is any attempts of like making it part of like more doctrinal, so there won't be any in a law level of
Of
preventing
course, the
such
Iranian people.
such.
Okay, so you're talking about secularism, right? Secularism,
I
basically
don't
separate
even know the
religion.
meaning of this word, so maybe you're right.
So
I think
separation of
it's
religion and politics,
If
right?
I may, I think I know what he's trying to say. He's wondering if,
Let me,
like, the what happened with Iran, if that can turn to immunize. That's not only do they have resistance, but could that translate to other people as well to immunize them against
no,
that?
no. So let me clarify with himself. Daniel, are you saying is there any effort to keep Islam out of politics?
Not like keep the Islam out of politics, but there
Do you
is
have
no
a
way.
state-sponsored plan in order to prevent it from happening again?
Yeah, like it happened once with Khomeini.
This is not at all even comparable, okay? But Khomeini came into power being the leader of the revolution with his main book being the book Velayat Faqih, which is all about Islamic theocracy and Islam being the way to rule over people. Okay. And the Iranian people back then had respect for Islam. This is not at all comparable. The Iranian people, a huge portion of Iranian people right now hate Islam. A vast majority of Iranian Muslims hate Islam in politics. We are in a situation right now that even if the vast majority of Iranian Muslims want secularism, even they want religion out of politics, right? So I don't think this is an issue. I think the main thing that, based on the population that we're dealing with in Iran, is not at all a threat. What is a threat is the remaining supporters of the Islamic Republic becoming terrorist cells that will remain active in the country because they are pissed off and they have the delusion that maybe they could go back. They will never be able to go back, but they will be able to cause a
No,
lot of
this of
terrorist
course,
activity. Yeah.
it's
So,
something to understand.
but Daniel, it's not a set of laws that you write on a piece of paper that fixes this, because it's an attitude of the society and the awareness of the society that
Yeah,
immunizes yourself with this.
it's attitude of the society and establishing some
Yeah.
institution, maybe call it, I
Yeah.
don't know,
So
Iranian Mossad or something.
yeah, don't worry. Given how determined the Iranian people and Princess of Pahlavi and his team is to keep Iran secular, all the laws that will be written in our constitution will be based on that principle, which is actually one of our four principles. We have four principles that this revolution is based on, which is democracy, secularism, the border integrity, and basically equal individual rights for all citizens. These are the four principles that this entire revolution is based on. And given that secularism is one of the four, I'm pretty sure that all the laws that will be written, it will be based on this foundation.
Yeah,
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Yes.
Definitely.
Good one.
Jeffrey? And let me go over through the list because people are raising hands like the button is giving out free gold. We have Jeffrey, then we have Daniel Spivak, myself, Richard, Rebecca, Hassan, and Uncle. Okay?
I never raised my hand.
Liar. You have to talk now.
Okay.
No, okay.
So, I mean,
Without
we
Daniel.
touched on a lot of different topics. I'm just going to bounce off the last one. So you were asking like what laws might be adopted to ensure you don't want a power vacuum for other, let's say, exogenous, actors outside of Iran, like using the period of instant transition to like assert their version of it. How do you there's a lot of utility, like operational utility, in why a lot of the people like Goldie and Armin and Tusi, myself, like to a lesser degree because I'm not Iranian, very much have our support behind His Highness Prince Pahlavi. Because if you look at the Iranian Prosperity Project, a lot of that is a contemporized version of a lot of the policies that his father, you know, like the Muhammad Reza Shah, implemented during his white revolution, not the least of which is how he approached the issue of Islam. So His Highness Reza Pahlavi's father, when he was doing his white revolution, his posture towards Islam was deliberately tolerant at the social level and uncompromising at the institutional level. What he was saying is that what the state rejected was not all members of the Ummah, it was clerical sovereignty. He was trying to, in many ways, he was very successful, which is what's so frustrating about the Red Black Alliance and what they destroyed via Soviet backed Marxists and Islamic fundamentalists, was moving Iran into an era of tolerant modernity. Why is Prince Pahlavi the person that you want to handle the transition? Because he very much both intellectually and experientially understands how to do that. There's a reason that Iranians very much have a deep love and or nostalgia for the time of the Shah. So, I have a very hard time believing that when the revolution is successful, however long that may take, the vast majority of Iranians would accept any attempt at trying to create a alternative Islamic fundamentalist theocracy. I mean, the probability of that happening is really low. The main issue is ensuring that the people that are left that they filter out or find and take care of remnants of the current regime so they can't engage in a protracted period of terrorism and undermine the stability during the transition period. He's right about that.
Thanks, Jeffrey.
I actually think that what we're going to be dealing with is like hijabi women in the future of Iran complaining about being looked down upon by the rest of society. Like that is the kind of issues we're going to be dealing with. People will come to them, oh, you're still wearing the hijab after everything that happened? You're still wearing the hijab? And then like spitting or something, you know what I mean? These are like these are the things that we might be dealing with after the Islamic Republic falls.
Yeah. I had a few points. I wanted to answer to Peter because, come on, Armin, you need to give me some credit. I'm not backing up the Iranian people in the London protest because they are Iranian.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't saying that about you. I was saying that about myself because
All right, all right.
you have information. I didn't have information. I'm just saying I, as an Iranian, if I don't have information, I'm not going to back the Iranians because I don't have like those Iranians specifically. I don't know what they did, so I'm not going to support them just because I'm Iranian. You might have some information that makes it what you're saying completely justified.
I know why they say that they're violent. They said that they're violent because they wanted to change the flag, and I don't know the British term from it, but they didn't listen to the police officers that tell them to turn around or something like that. So this is the case of violence that was portrayed from the Iranian people. And as an ex-cop, I do want to say that there's many things in the procedure that they just stink. I'm sorry. It's like, listen, you arrest someone, that's fine. You need to use force in order to arrest them. That's good. All right, fine. You're a cop. You need to be a big, strong man that know how to pretzel people. That's part of the job. Great. But after you already have both of his hands and he's in handcuffs, that's when you stop. And
Yeah.
now I'm not an idiot, okay? So what they are trying to hide, that they're like with both the knees on, trying to like restrain him. I eat this bullshit for breakfast. I used to arrest people. I know this is
Mm.
bullshit. You don't need to pressure someone's face so much that you will need stitches, and some of them needed stitches. You could see it from the video. There is something that's called reasonable force that you need to apply on the person. Okay, so let's say that if the crime that he wants to pull off is vandalism, the nature of the vandalism is replacing a flag. This is not a crime that justifies me beating you up to the point you need stitches. Something is wrong here. I noticed that your tail light is broken and you are on a motorcycle and I'm a cop. And I scares you with the siren and you started flying in 200 miles an hour. If I commence in this chase, you might die as a motorcyclist. And I don't really have other reason to believe that you have drugs or weapons, just that broken taillight, let's say. If I choose to go on this chase and you die, I need to give answers. Okay, in Israel at least. So I think that this whole process it didn't look good and it stanked because also the pro-Palestinian and all, they threw, I don't know what it was, like the signs and dirty diapers on World War II memorials and stuff like that. Are you going to give the Iranian people shit for replacing a flag? They made memorial sites from World War II. They turned them into a battle zone. Are you kidding me? It's a little weird.
Yeah, so see, you have expert opinion that I don't. But go, Peter. Yeah, Peter wants to add something.
You want to challenge it, Peter? For sure. A beer bottle that was thrown on one of the police officers. Okay, is that a reason to attack everybody? I think that you need one person in order to throw one bottle. I'm not saying that they were here and using please and thank you and they were all polite. It's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that I do think that there was a severe push of the law in their behalf when it comes to applying force. That's all I'm saying.
But Hassan, I see saw your hand, so you're on the list. Don't worry.
Yeah. About Iran and the delay, I want to say two things. One thing is, I thought that the delay, what I told you yesterday, because time has passed, so I am allowing myself to say, I thought that the nature of the delay was because Israel was prepared on the defense and not on the assault. And because, you need to prepare the airplanes, the jet fighters for these kinds of actions. You need to prepare them for assault and for defense. It's not just one machine that is ready for multi-purpose action all the time. So these kind of things need time to work on the planes. That's what I thought. Now it's taking a little bit too much time, so it's not that. Chemical weapons are apparently being used. That's a big surprise, I think, both to Israel and the US. If they use it against their own people, I don't need to tell you what they're going to do with those weapons against the Americans and the Jews. It blends the cards again, and it makes people think how to take the next step. And about what Savannah said, I don't think that they will ever reach the point of North Korea because, like Armin said, they are not used to this miserable type of life. They remember some other things. And if you read history, you know that Emperor Caligula, he was murdered by his bodyguard at the end, by his closest person. That might happen before Iran will turn into North Korea, in my opinion. Richard.
Yeah, I had a question following up on what Essie was saying, but also wanted to tell you, Essie, I don't recommend eating bullshit for breakfast. Not good nutritional value, and I can't imagine it tastes too good. So just FYI. Question: I was actually going to follow up on the chemical weapons. I saw the footage on Tusi with the hazmat suits. So obviously, it's somewhat reminiscent of what Assad did in Syria during Trump's first term, and that spurred him to take action much quicker than he was planning. But my question is, where do you think those chemical weapons actually came from? I'm sure they weren't developed in-house by the IRGC. So are they Russian? Do we have any idea where they might have come from?
They might come from a lot of places, also
Maybe
Russia.
Jeffrey, do you know?
Yeah, Jeffrey could answer that, but before Jeffrey answers that, Jeffrey, isn't it easy to make these? You let us know. Go ahead, open your mic.
Are they capable in Iran technically? Yeah, they're
So,
capable.
yeah, the environment's okay. So I'm going to use these two things to set up the answer to that. So the environment, like with regards to the pause, as I have kind of referenced a couple of times, the environment is fluid, which means it's changing, right? It's a competitive it's a complex adaptive system, and actors engage in competitive adaptation. The Mullah regime has dispersed its missile forces. I'm sure Ozzy knows this quite well. And even though we did a lot of damage to the Mullah regime's nuclear program and or its missile forces during the 12-day war, open intelligence assessments showed that the Mullah regime has about 150 to 200 launchers. So in striking the Mullah regime, as things are moving on, the sortie requirement changes based on how they position their forces. And so we want to have enough forces there to have a successful operation if or when it comes, and it's probably going to be when, not if. With success defined as fully suppressing Mullah retaliatory capability. It's also the reason why a lot of people in the region don't want, we're very apprehensive. As far as now regarding how the actors are modifying their behavior with regards to chemical weapons, so in a lot of ways, President Trump's response to Assad's use of chemical weapons in Aleppo was very quick and decisive. Like when he saw that really is something that Donald doesn't like. There is open intelligence reports that show that certain chemical agents are being used on the ground in Iran. That's true, and there's different levels of them, like from irritants and like asphyxiation agents, mustard gas, chemical weapons.
Is it forensically confirmed?
So I'm saying unconfirmed as far as what I've seen. With regards to their location, a lot of chemical weapons, like traditional ones, are very easy to make. That said, that doesn't mean that because of the organizational operational ties between the Mullah regime and its patron states like Putin's criminalized counterintelligence state and the Chinese Communist Party, both of which have a very active and robust chemical and biological weapons program, wouldn't provide them additional resources. That's very probable. I mean, Putin's criminalized counterintelligence state has used nerve agent at a very small unit level ever since like late 2022 in Putin's illegal war of aggression in Ukraine. So to the source of it, I'm saying that it's possible. I can't speak to the probability, although Ozzy's right in the sense that a lot of them are very easily produced, even with stuff you could find under your sink, which I'm not going to go through for obvious reasons.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Richard and Jeff, thank you. And Rebecca Borg. She left. Rebecca, you raised your hand. Do you want to speak?
No, she's here.
Yeah, I see her.
My
We don't
Bluetooth
have any
headphones off.
Oh, there you go.
I hear you.
Hassan, you're on the list.
So I wanted to just make a comment. Are you guys hearing me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, hearing you. Do you hear us?
So here's the comment. If my history is correct, when it came to after the Second World War and Auschwitz, the people who got there first wanted everyone else to join them because they were like, we need people to come and see this with their own eyes. Because they said they won't believe us if we just tell them. And I think that's a part of like human psychology. If you're a good person, it's very difficult to believe that there are bad people who can do such terrible things to other human beings. And I think this is partly the case in terms of trusting that Iran will be a democratic country. I think this is one of the issues that people are facing, that the disbelief of how bad things are. I can give a personal anecdote. I'm partially deaf. I found out I wasn't born this way, and it took me about a year to accept the fact that I was going deaf. I have prosthetic bones in my ears, so I hear everything like now. It's okay. I had operations done. It's fine. But it took me a year to accept that about myself. You know what I mean? I'm just saying the psychology of people who are still questioning what's going on in Iran, if it's true or not. I think it's similar to like we act in disbelief sometimes about things we don't want to accept are true about the world we live in. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. One thing that helps is that there's a lot of phones people have. So there's a lot of video recordings of what just happened. So that might help.
And I think once the revolution is over, these videos will have to be played every now and then again, just to remind people, listen, this is how it was. And this is why we needed to do what we did. And they will have to be played months afterwards, maybe even a few years afterwards, again, to let people know this is why we did what we did. I just think it's something to think about. That's all.
I think we're going to have memorials. I don't think it needs to be regarding trusting Iran. I think the trust towards Iran will be obvious given the values that the Iranians have.
At the beginning, it might not be as obvious. Yes, it will be obvious. But at the beginning, I listened to the UN Council. I listened to everything you've put out, Armin, on your channel in the last 21 days. I've been following after work. I switch it on immediately, and even 2CTV. And I've heard what other people are saying, the media who is not reporting on Iran or just giving the talking points of the IRGC. And it's really difficult for people to believe that these things happening. It's similar to what happened on October 7th when Israel didn't show all the footage they have of all the things that happened.
Right.
Thank you.
Just consider what I'm saying for the future. That's all.
Okay. It's good that we have.
I might be 100% wrong. I stand to be corrected on everything I just said.
No, that's good. Thank you.
No, I think it's very important that we're such a diverse group, because you would never hear such a tip from an Israeli, because it is so obvious to us. But so I'm very grateful
People in
that you are here.
America, it's wild how like little they understand anything's really happening in Iran. It is wild how little a lot of people in America understand something's happening.
That's what I'm saying.
It's very in the dark.
Maybe you're right. It's called the curse of knowledge. Sometimes you know things and you assume other people know it as well. So that's called the curse of knowledge.
Hassan.
Also, ignorance is bliss.
Sometimes. Hassan, please.
Hassan.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me all
Yeah.
right?
Yes, sir.
Hello,
Yes.
everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk here. Hassan is not my real name. I'm in the only other country besides Iran that has Islamic Republic in its name, which is the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, which is to the east of Iran, a neighbor of yours, Armin. I came here as sort of an onlooker. I look at things that are playing out in my neighborhood. And I would first like to just say that I cannot wait for the fall of the Islamic Republic. I've seen this country aspirationally growing up, and the other country that I look at aspirationally sometimes is the United States and Israel. Yes, I would really like for this region that is Persia to get back to its glory, and the day of the Shah seems like the way to go. I was reading up on the history between Pakistan and Iran. Between the time when the Shah was ruling Iran, it was a particularly cordial time between our two countries, and we had great diplomatic relationships, and I personally would like to see our two countries get along well when the Islamic Republic falls inevitably. I cannot wait for that again. And Armin, to you, I would like to say that I hope your family is safe. I hope that your dreams. I just heard you coherently talk about the values that the new republic will aspire to achieve, and I wish you the very best in being able to communicate that to your fellow countrymen so that you can rally towards those values. Those are the extraordinary values that I wish even my country had. And yeah, that's that. I said my bit.
Oh, that was so beautiful. I really appreciate your support and thank you.
Thank
And
you.
don't worry, when it comes to those values, I don't need to. I'm actually a follower of the Iranian people. Like, they're leading the rest of us. The values that you found inspirational are so common among the Iranian people. I'm going to continue to advertise them.
I would slightly
But
like to
it's
interject here. Armin, you're 100% right that the Iranian people as a people, they are very forward looking. And even I've come across some of them during my travels. They are forward looking people. But unfortunately, the region that we live in, which is unfortunately the region of Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iran, and Turkey, this is some of the region that is prone to irrationality. And irrational values tend to sometimes overpower the logical ones that we tend to want to rise above, but sometimes irrationality and sheer emotion wins. This is why it is important to keep inculcating those values into people again and
you're right.
again. But this is a particularly emotional region. I think you would understand that Afghanistan, Pakistan,
Hmm.
Iran, Turkey. I mean, even now, look at Turkey, for example. This is a country that's secularized, but now it looks at that time when the time of the Ottoman Empire, there are people who look at that time with nostalgia. They would like to bring the Ottoman way of doing things back. I just look at how Erdogan is, for example, ruling Turkey, and I feel for the Turkish people, the way the secular values have been eroded there. I would never want that for the new Republic of Iran. I would never want that. I would want the new Republic of Iran to not only have those values, but to have those values be written as a matter of
Well,
DNA.
I don't think we're more emotional. I think we're basically, emotionally, the humans in different locations, we're pretty much the same on average. I think it's a matter of the chance for enough competition between different values and different methods and different political parties to go through the Darwinian competitive process for it to create institutions which are so deep rooted within society that these standards grow from the bottom up rather than the
Right.
top down. So what we
Right.
had in Turkey and Reza Shah and Mohammad Reza Shah in Iran was a very serious attempt to modernize, even though it was a good attempt and actually it was a leap forward, and both of
Hmm.
these countries benefited from it. The society wasn't ready for it. Like, it was mostly from the top down. And even though it helped to get to a point where we could also work from it from the bottom up, when we look at Europe, for example, or North America, or countries that are
Hmm.
based on European values, you have to understand
Yeah.
that they went through 1,000 years of
Correct.
bloodshed and war to get to this position. So if you look
True.
at them where they are and you look at, like, oh, we're more emotional, no, we're not more emotional. We just haven't gone through those phases yet, and in fact we're going through those steps faster than they had, right? So you should just give us some time, and it's
Right.
more about basically creating those foundations from the bottom up. This is what the difference between right now in Iran and even Iran back during the Shah is that the Shah had the proper values, but the Iranian people were a bit behind, right?
Backwards. Yeah, they were a bit
Yeah,
backwards. Yeah.
they were. Yeah, but now the Iranian people have reached the level of maturity that the Shah had. So it's now, as you say it, in our DNA.
That is true. If I would like to, again, I don't want to take too much of your time because, of course, there are other people who want to talk as well. I would just like to say that you're right, but I do feel that the people who live, for example, in climates that require, for example, more assertion on their parts and more discipline on their part, for example, Western Europe or, Scandinavian countries, these are countries that have had to be more disciplined. Otherwise, they would have not survived. And on the other hand, the reason that we live in, this is only my way of thinking it, that the reason that we live in has been so fertile, so comfortable climate-wise and agriculture-wise, that we've just been a bit more comfortable with the status quo. I know a lot of what you said is true about the fact that the Europeans had to have their own history. They've gone through a lot. Only then they came up with the values that they've come up with. I just hope that we can move forward as a region. I would really like to see
Yep.
that. Again, I told you at the beginning that I'm from the only other country that has
Yep.
Islamic Republic in its name, and I cannot wait for that name to be dropped. Every single time you say that these are the last days of the Islamic Republic, I wish it was my country. I wish it was the Islamic Republic of Pakistan that was falling. I
So,
just hope that as a region we can put logic forward because
okay.
logic dictates that religion cannot be allowed to contaminate politics. It cannot be allowed to contaminate
So,
logic. Logic has to reign supreme, and I cannot wait for as a reason for us to adopt those values. Yes.
So, and can you come back again another time, because I want to talk more about Pakistan and your views about the future of Pakistan, and
Oh
also,
my
like, I
God, I
think
would
when it
love
comes,
to.
yeah,
I
yeah.
would love
So,
to.
right now I want to move on to the other people, but yeah, I would love to have that discussion with you.
Oh
Also,
my
when it
God, I
comes
would. I
to
would
logic
absolutely
and
love that.
emotion, also when it
Yes.
comes to logic and emotion, I don't want us to dismiss emotion.
No.
It's not an either or. I think emotion,
Hmm.
is part of our human nature, and it's also sometimes very useful when it comes to fighting for the right values. So I would do want to talk about that at another time either. So remind me to talk about these topics as well at another time, but right now.
I cannot wait for that. Thank you.
Okay, sounds good, and thank you for being here. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you for letting me speak. Thank you.
No
Thanks,
worries.
Hassan. Uncle?
Yes. I'm sorry if I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. So let me see. Since you ended on the Norwegian part, I'll just make my 3 points there before I deliberate on them. Yeah, Norway was a basket case before we got our first king of kings for hundreds of years. So yeah, the bloodletting part is absolutely true. The geography part, that's a different debate. I'm not going to get into it. But going to, I forgot who was to said it. Like if Iran manages to liberate themselves, how would that be? Like would it pass laws and counters against Islam? And what Armin finished with there, I think, is the most important part, namely that it's a cultural thing, and they will be able to present it in a manner that is going to be very useful for us Europeans because we have a lot of narrative fault lines due to the Islamic Republic, and they are just going to come crashing down when we have Iranian voices coming out and making clear like, nah, you've been believing the opposite here. And one way to get to that is actually like consider which country you are in or from, and then relate with Iran, because you can. If you are a nation, you can much more easily find something you can relate with another nation like Iran. So let's take the case of Norway, right? Why would we support the Shah instead of the Islamic Republic? Well, the Islamic Republic came through a coup, which we consider inherently illegitimate in the first place. But also, the Shah seeks to, if it's not a republic, then it is a constitutional monarchy, which is exactly what Norway has. Which means that geopolitically speaking, they are a more natural, rational, quote unquote, ally to us than the Islamic Republic. So, like, I think one should, like, what you were saying, Hassan, on the logic part, and the whoever said regarding the passing laws against Islam, I am tempted to do the same, but I'm not so sure that it's going to be it's going to have the desired effect. I think it is much more conducive to have the people, generally speaking, actually spread what does it mean to be going after such a dogma? What does it mean when you follow that idea to its conclusion? Because I think a lot of things that happen is because the idea sounds so much better until it actually hits the real world. I mean, that's why communism, for example, keeps resurging. And the same with Islam, right? There's going to be facets of Islam that someone is going to be finding appealing. And it's not going to be because the government tells you, oh, you should not do it. It's going to be because people like you and I, like everyone else, we are meeting together and we're conversing on these platforms like these, for example. So Yeah, I didn't actually have a point though because I kind of waited for such a long time that I hope it kind of made sense. Sorry if it didn't. Thank you for your time.
It's all right, Uncle. Samantha?
Okay. Yeah, so I wanted to say I kind of disagree with I think the West is very much in a phase right now where like a lot of people want to believe in like a utopian future. So in a weird way, like they're romanticizing the other. So in a weird way, it's like because the Shah has more similar values to the West, it's getting de-romanticized because they're romanticizing like the other and believing like other like Islamism is like utopian future. Yeah,
Can you explain the other? Who's the other here?
like Middle Eastern culture
Okay.
and Islamism
So
and like the
can I?
communism, like people are like the countries that have different values from like the Western capitalist order.
So can I respond to that?
Yeah.
Let me, because I think we should. This is the way I think about it. So let me know what you think. Okay. So when we talk about culture, I think we're using the same word for two separate category of things that are so different from each other that we shouldn't be using the same word. And I don't know why we're using the same word for both of them, right? And one of them is values, right? So it's like normative. And the other one is basically traditions like dance, music, food, architecture,
Poetry and
fashion,
stuff.
poetry, literature, right? So,
Mhm,
you know, like I don't know, Japanese food, like Spanish dance, I don't know, Arab architecture. Okay, so yeah, so when we talk about culture in the second category, the more of that better. It's basically a subjective thing. The more diversity in that, the better. When it comes to culture as in values, do you believe in objective morality? Like, do you believe that certain values are better than others? Okay.
yes.
So when it comes to values, then you agree that some values are superior to other values. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
This is not a matter of Western versus non-Western. This is about a matter of what we can empirically,
Mhm,
not rationally, but
mhm.
empirically show that it works, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we don't care if where they came from.
But that's coming from a
Empirically, I
logical approach. You're coming very much from a logical approach, but they're on an
right.
emotional wavelength.
Well, I'm saying I support these values because we have empirically. It's not about them being Western. It's
Mm,
about. So let me actually give you maybe the list of, because I took a list of what these values are, and it doesn't matter if wherever we apply them, societies seem to prosper, right? Like if we, many Western European countries and North American countries abide by them, but also Japan, for example,
mhm.
is not a Western
But
country. So, for example, you could Japan, right? You could compare South Korea to North Korea. South Korea is not a Western country. They abide by these values, and you can compare them with. I mean, South Korea and North Korea are such a good example because they are similar people with the same background, same geography, same ethnicity, same everything, but one of them abides by these values and not the other one doesn't, and you can see the difference is night and day, literally night and day, because from
Armin,
space
I
one
know
of them
people who
is
think that North Koreans have a better quality of life than South Koreans.
like that's retarded. Okay, I don't care about that. I'm talking about objective reality. Like based on every form of measurement, South Koreans live better lives than North Koreans. Separation of powers, secularism, separation of religion and government, representative democracy,
Mm,
free speech or free expression, free trade, free markets. I'm not even going to say capitalism. Okay, I'm just going to say free trade and free markets, right? Respect for fundamental human rights, property rights, respect for the scientific method, freedom of assembly, respect for the rule of law, civic nationalism, individual liberty, and equality under the law. These list of values, the more you abide by them, the more prosperous your society becomes. So you might, if you don't want to call them Western values, don't. There are other names. You could
mhm.
call them Enlightenment values. You could call them
Yeah.
classical liberal values. You could call them modern Republican tradition. So it's not a Western thing. Everywhere you apply them, they just happen to work. They just happen to come out of the UK and France during the age of enlightenment. They became popular as then. That's why people call them Western values, but they work everywhere. But go on.
Okay, but I'm specifically referring to the West, like Europe and like North America. A lot of people on the left, they want to believe in a utopian future. They want to believe that if they over that like their system is fucked up, and if they overthrow their system and adopt a different system, their lives will be so much better and they will achieve utopia. And it's going to be a problem because if they see the Shah acting in a similar manner to how Europe or North America acts, they will want to demonize that because they'll see it similar in terms of like demonizing.
So we're mixing two groups of people. If somebody thinks that we're going to reach utopia, or people think that things are going to improve. Okay? If your society is abiding by these values in general, things will dramatically improve. If by utopia you mean that everything will be complete, like it would be like heaven on earth, well, obviously that's delusional. We will always have problems. But it is true there are people who believe justifiably that these values, this is superior. I mean, I know you disagree, but these values are superior to
I
communism.
Now is
These
not the
values are
time,
superior.
but
Yes.
sometime when it is the time, I would love to have a conversation with you actually on why you think communism is worse than Islam when it is the time. That I want to
Yeah, I
say
would
though,
love to have that discussion with you, and I will promise you that that will be a very friendly discussion, and I will not like. I will make sure that I will
No,
have
no,
that
don't go
discussion with
anywhere. I
you.
think that there's rebuttals to it. Right now,
okay,
so
just
it'll be
one
fine.
sentence I want to say. I don't want to elaborate on the sentence, but I want to say that I logically understand that if people don't have an incentive to work hard, then they won't.
Yeah, that's true.
Armen, you need to split to Goldie to go to Goldie.
Yeah. So wait. Okay. No, but what was it? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Samantha, did I answer your? Is there anything else that you wanted to tell me? Because, or was that good?
That was good.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I think that was a very good discussion that we just had. Were you okay? Like, I just wanted to see
Yeah.
if you
It's
because
still going on.
okay.
Don't
Okay. Good.
bury it.
No, no. I just want to. I'm just very proud of Samantha because she's more willing to have discuss. She's becoming more open and more willing to have discussions, and I just want to say I'm so proud of her.